locations. But no matter the
Well, I
shift,
didn't even
they
update my
always meet
freaking
here on the same stage
Team
where
Pilot.
today
Holy
PRX must prove they can rise again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing if they can do that. I think DRX are right on the cutting edge of the meta right now. They are a very strong team, and they're going to be difficult for PRX to topple. They've got to turn their form around 180 from what we saw in kickoff, and they're going to be keeping the same roster going into the game today.
Yeah, this isn't a team that's going to feel new in my mind, for DRX at least. But as you say, for PRX, been a team that's been around for a long time.
Oh yeah, this core squad, we're so familiar since 2023. Basically, after lock-in, we were just talking about, they bombed out of lock-in. You know, they switched Benkai, they brought in something, and then they looked phenomenal. Made it really far through into LA Champs, making it to that grand finals. But ever since then, they've always made it to international events. And feels like last year, but now they finally bombed out, didn't make their first international event, and surely they're looking for their comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can go one of two ways, right? If you don't make that international event, the first way is, you know, it's going to be a big boost to them going, we need to get it fixed, or it can be a crumbling sort of sensation where it's like, oh no, it's all fallen apart. So we'll have to see how it ends up today.
Yeah.
I was hoping they were going to fight. I don't know if you guys saw that, the AI situation. But sorry, go ahead, Pilsky.
I think, you know, I'm hoping that PRX going out in kickoff, like you've already had some kind of rumblings of like some inconsistency for a long time before that. I'm hoping that them going out in kickoff like that is going to be their crisis moment that actually lights a fire under them and is going to push them to do a whole lot better. And like I said, I mean, especially looking at this map pool, I'm not really sure what to expect because for Haven, I mean, it's not something PRX has played since the off-season, and they hadn't had a lot of reps on it. Icebox is coming out of left field back into the map pool, and we haven't seen either of these teams play that since Champs last year, many months now. And then Lotus getting some reps for both of these teams in kickoff. I mean, a promising one for PRX as well, although that was over Zeta.
I think this is going to be a really interesting redo of all three of these maps. Now that we know DRX is great with the Tejo, but Waylay is in, and we're already seeing the map that you guys wanted to see, at least one of the two.
I kind of think my
And are we going to see the agent that we want to see?
I think today's
like,
a Waylay
camera
day.
is a little
Waylay
too
day?
big,
I think
no?
there's probably like 3 of the 4 teams playing today I could see running away. I could see Talon doing it. I could see both of these teams doing it. We know DRX try and push the meta, but not today, not in this game at least.
Yoru is back for PRX on Haven.
This is the opposite of what I expected. PRX are almost kind of playing what DRX were playing over in Masters. Very similar looking comp, but DRX are double duelisting with Flashback of Teo, Flashbacks on a duelist, and Hyunmin's on Jet. They're double duelisting against PRX, who used to have played double duelist.
Honestly, it looks like it's wrong. It looks like these two compositions
wrong way around.
Also, Jing and Mindfreak have swapped roles. Mind is the Sentinel. Jing is on Omen. Okay, this is absolutely insane, and we are gonna have to toss as their casters, and this is very exciting also because we have a new voice here at VCT Pacific, more representation from Oceania. We've got Komodo. Welcome. He's casting together with
Alright, should be good.
That's right. Thank you very much, Victoria. Yes, we do have a new voice on the desk this time. Komodo, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, and I think coming in towards this is not what I expected. I don't think this timeline is what anybody expected for this agent composition that we have been delivered for this series.
It's just so strange, right? I mean, it is a little bit familiar just having these two teams, but the fact that they've kind of swapped roles now, it's PRX with something slightly more meta, but there is a Yoru in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, I look towards these comps, and I'm a little bit sad that we're not going to be seeing Freeing back on the Tejo. I think he was really good on that. But going back towards Cypher is something that he's been so proficient on as well before. I think more interestingly for me, Flashback on a Neon, that raises a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I mean, it still kind of is going along that theme of like putting your previous Sentinel, the one with better aims, onto the duelist roles, but how that's all going to play out. How is this matchup going to turn out? It's a very interesting thing to think about, but I feel regardless of the outcome, we can definitely expect a very exciting match coming up soon.
I hope so. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this does deliver towards 3 maps in this series. We've got reigning champs DRX. Don't forget that you got to mention that when we're getting in towards this series as well. And for PRX, who bowed out decently early over in kickoff, this is a bit of a resurgence time for them.
You know, the fans have been wondering, when will PRX play? When will PRX possibly even win again? All those questions will be answered starting right now as they move on out straight in towards a lobby.
Well, it's good to see them not
Wait, the
scared.
camera
Already
are
taking
wrong. What
space
the
over
hell?
towards
That's
A
not
lobby.
flashback.
They've gotta be a little
That's
bit careful. You don't take
Forsaken.
it too carefully, but yeah, look, that's not what I expected.
Quickly flooding through, right? Brack off the smokes, and it's Jing in with the classics as well. They're able to kind of death ball all the way through now, and that is a very open A site.
W Gaming a little bit at its finest, a little bit delayed from the beginning, but you do like to see that they're all holding hands. Get that spike plant down.
Bro, the
See what
camera
Marco and Freeing
cam,
gonna be able to do
I mean the
just in a
player
retake.
cam is all messed
I mean, it's
up.
going to be difficult.
That's
Jing,
not Mako.
Mind Freak a little bit low.
That's not Jing.
Well,
That's not
Paranoia's still in
something.
his pocket though for Jing, so he has a bit of an opportunity, but not
Alright, there
quite
you
the
go. They
info. So
turned it
just
off.
tucked away inside the pocket. Mind Freak possibly holding the angle for information. Right there it is, Jing. Does he swap to the utility? Not quite just yet. Mako still
He's not
trying to
checking
get a
this.
little bit more space, but dies to the right click within close range, freeing now. Lost in alone, it's going to be the entire swarm. Divide to finish it off. PRX starting off clean.
Good
Yeah,
shit.
absolutely flawless to come out from them. You do like to see that one, especially just able to kind of squander the very beginning attempts of DRX. I don't mind the idea, right? You want to go for a little bit of A-lobby control. It's pretty standard to get that dark cover deep and then split it out through sewers and long. Just a little bit of ill timing when you do go in towards the smoke, and from there, it's just a barrel roll straight down. Everybody on PRX getting active, taking space towards the side, hitting their shots as well. Coming away with the pistol is going to be really confident for them.
It is really early, of course, though, Komodo. I mean, this is kind of where we're wondering how the composition will play out. It just was the pistol round, but having that double duelist, you can see why DRX tried to get aggressive.
Oh, sorry, I can't see my
Now you're just
chat,
going back on towards fundamentals and what to do on an anti-eco round. DRX takes space over at C-Long. Sometimes the gambles don't just work, and now all the information is kind of up for Bane. If you can get away with one, hey, you'd be happy with that.
Yeah, but at the same time, Clone's already been broken. Forsaken towards the back of the site, clears out everything. Something will be able to get that entry. The rest of the team has arrived nearby, but are those pistols going to be enough?
Alright.
Got to decide if you want to go for this retake at all and give away any more ulti orbs to PRX2, or if you want to just see and go up with the spike at the end, have everything you want towards your next gun round.
A little bit of a progression smoking out from Mako, trying to possibly bait PRX into peeking a little bit further, and they are getting pretty close to it.
Yeah, just playing by the numbers at the moment.
Fault line as well, but there we go. Freeing will be able to walk away with at least one. Jing hangs back, Forsaken in with the Stinger as well. Close range with two guns next to each other. Mako continues to crouch down with the right click though, but Jing will make quick work of that. There it is, 3 kills in the round for the guy on his new role as a controller, but also PRX keeping these weapons over onto the next rounds.
Yeah, taking 3 of them in towards the bonus as well is going to be all right for them. You start to build up a little bit more on the From the Shadows from Jing. Didn't think I'd ever say From the Shadows for Jing playing on an Omen. Hey, some good damage all in all to come out from DRX, but most importantly, bonus conversion, right? That's where we want to see them get active in towards the server. Haven was picked for a reason.
And you can start to see those old flavors of the old PRX as well now coming through. I mean, it is the first 2 rounds, but they have been confidently strutting their way down A. This time, starting things off a little bit different.
Yeah, pretty spread default across the map for DRX. Already the normal fundamentals of how you want to go about garage control as well. Just the how do you do from Forsaken before he gets out. And I like the attempt as well. Just back, leaning on some utility towards the A site. Flashback. I mean, if he gets one, he gets out. Yeah, that's an option, but he has to kind of do something with Bane here because the numbers are already sneaking up for PRX.
At least they do have information hearing off of that gate crash audio tell. Mako continuing to push up even further too, so that's even more information. DRX have already rotated over onto this A site.
Divide is in a position to kind of look after that though if the trap is broken, but never mind, I say that, he is caught looking the wrong way. Bane finds Forsaken as well, and this is going perfect so far for DRX.
VAR going up against the Omen, of course, so it's Mako just trying to hold down the back lines. PRX has to now watch out for their backs. They're even getting hit by the flash. A secondary smoke coming through, and it forces Mind Freak to push on. He does get one, but he makes it a trade. Jing in for another trade as well. The spike's on the ground. PRX wants to pick it up. Something dives right in. It's down to the one-on-one. Holds the angle, but something swings!
That's awesome for PRX. They'll be absolutely happy with converting a bonus round like that. When you think that the beginning is working so good for DRX as well. Great recognition from Mako that he can push through grass, can get a bit of a flank happening, Divine not looking the right way, you get another kill to come out from Bane, but then you kind of give up your hand just a little bit too much. A 3 versus 5 conversion rate to come here. A little bit unfortunate for DRX as well, but for PRX, not being scared when they're in a deficit position. They're taking these fights, they're going back to what they can rely upon. Their aim, their ambition. It's working nicely.
6 kills,
You
1
gotta
death.
love it. You love to see those smiles and those fist bumps coming out once again, but here we go back into it, knowing they're up against an anti-eco round. around.
Oh.
It's just DRX trying to march forward,
What?
trying
He
to
missed?
get at least one weapon away. The spray's coming through, though. Ooh.
Yeah, good fault line. It's a little bit awkward for Flashback in that. Again, just to highlight, this
Bro,
is one of these
PRX
eco rounds
too
to come through from
aggressive.
DRX, of course,
They're
with
back?
that bonus round
Are they
not
back?
going their way. So it's just about having a bit of a conversation. What can you figure out at the moment? What are PaperX doing around the map? And this time they do change it up. They don't just look to go towards the A site. It's over towards C. Not seeing too much here for DRX.
It's still going to be Hyunmin alone, though, so
Damn.
easy pickings now.
shit.
Forsaken swaps over onto the Ghost as well. Finds Mako. PaperX, flawless
they're
run
mad,
thus
bro.
far. And they don't look to be slowing
I
down
think
anytime
this game
soon.
could make or break if
Yeah.
Patman will make
Absolutely,
it to
the
like
start that
starting
you do want to
5.
see, and now you start to build up a couple of these ultimates as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a timeout to come out too soon for DRX. I mean, you don't win the pistol, you don't win the bonus round. If you don't win your next gun round, I mean, you start to question a little bit, are PRX playing our composition better?
It does feel that way, doesn't it? I mean, you got the Teo in the breach, but we're not seeing too much of that just yet either. It's just the fact that they've been sticking together for majority of the rounds. And with that, they're able to pick DRX apart now. Moving forward, though, this is the first time that we're seeing them head down this B lane. Makes the trip from the shadows towards the back.
Don't forget, there's an operator down the sewers as well for Hyunmin, so he can send Flashback away
Oh,
to try and help
shit.
out with the rest of the squad, but the reposition at the moment actually
He doesn't know,
his
yeah.
backlines, and they have no idea. Again, Forsaken,
what the
Jing
heck? They
just
should
getting
have-
active around the map. That kind of might even be the round in and of itself, Quack.
And that truly has broken a lot of DRX's defensive lines. Mako trying to find something. Will be able to get a double, but something makes it a trade. Bane now flooding back into the site. He is working alongside Hyunmin. Look at how PaperX are positioned. Devi in for the strafe, and now looks onto the next. Something with the assistance coming out from window, and PaperX will make it a quick 5-0 right now.
It looks so good from PRX as well. Splitting around the map, making sure that they're trying to throw a bit of a spanner in the works to where DRX are trying to look. A great reposition from Jing as
Bro,
well.
come
You
on,
can just
DRX,
see
bro.
none the wiser were DRX, and you're going towards a retake scenario where you're in a 5 versus 3. Some brilliance from Marco, don't get me wrong, but when you're looking down the barrel of a Teo still alive, they've still got salvos, you've got the special delivery still as well, and you're a lonely jet with some cloudbursts, you're not really going to be able to get a defuse like that. So back to the drawing board for DRX, but with no timeout, just an eco round to have here. PRX, they'll start their hand a little bit differently, spawning out, freeing. And he is by himself at the moment. Marco, bit of utility in towards the garage, of course, can send out the smokes, can send out a paranoia
Like,
if they
why
want to
is
go
my
for a bit of a
stream
challenge,
delayed?
but
What the
all in
hell?
all, bit of a slower start for PaperX here.
Certainly.
My stream is
Just trying
delayed.
to throw off some of DRX's possible
Oh, there
reads.
you
We
go.
did have Flashback marching a little bit closer up towards a short, but seeing or sensing a bit of danger, he does fall back. Of course, though, DRX are on those pistols.
It's very wise from PaperX at the moment, actually, and how they're navigating around the map. Making sure they're doing it in pairs a little bit, not being too overzealous, not trying to just stretch in towards territory that they don't own.
It's kind of strange to see this from PaperX, isn't it, Komodo? I
Yeah.
mean, they're showing off different looks. They're slowing down the pace. It causes DRX to question what's going on, and then a curious Bane looks up front, gets picked up by
God damn, bro,
Forsaken. Now the
PaperX is
smokes are
so
out.
mad.
Got
Holy
utility just
shit.
to clear out the side as well. Flashback tries to get ahead of it, but the fake gate crash does get ahead of him as well. Forsaken, 2 kills thus far.
Yeah, you're just trying to find what you can in this round for PaperX and build up your economy even more so up towards that max 9,000 credit mark, really. Just again, these pistols for DRX to try and do some sort of damage, if at all possible, and it's not going to be. A
Holy
flawless round again to
shit.
come through from PaperX.
And they've been holding on to that outlaw for quite a while, haven't they? Something still working on alongside it. I mean, it is against the eco of DRX, so why not keep that to punish them? But at the same time, DRX scrambling for something. I just have to imagine Termy's somewhere shaking his head right now.
Yeah, I mean, I see what Bane's trying to do there. You're always going to be a little bit incentivized to try and bring something back for your team. Even on an eco round, you know, you're not got too much to lose if you're already picking up towards your ult, and you'll take an ult point if you do lose your life. But I think more importantly, this is the round that you have to see something for DRX, and a lot of ultimates available as well. PRX going to change it up, get information off the dimensional drift.
That is definitely one way to stay ahead of the game. Info gained as well, and that's the salvos just to try to displace Hyunmin, but he manages to stay alive. Shuts down Forsaken with that operator of his, and that blocks off the B site.
It is an opening pick for DRX, but don't get me wrong. They have lost it from advantage position so far in this map, so it's going to be a bit of a reset on the back of utility.
just to continue to poke and prod around the B site. For now, there is a trip ahead of Mindfreak, and he will break that as well.
Yeah, no real space forward anywhere from DRX as well. Reposition back towards the C site. You tap on towards your cam for freeing. That's a little bit deep through towards C long. You do have Marco spotting over towards A, but he is by himself. He doesn't need to play here too aggressively, and that's why you lose your smokes. You lose your advantage. And now things start to look a little bit scurrysome around the map. More rotations in towards Garage. You got to re-pick up some information. If you're Paper X here, you might even reconsider using the Rolling Thunder to get in towards a position here, but Hungry is flashback and he falters.
They actually hold back, and there it is.
Bro, imagine a
Mention the Rolling
13-0.
Thunder, and they could very well be setting up for it right now.
Neural Theft in, that's all the information that you want. Rolling Thunder does go towards the seaside. You got the Armageddon too.
And there it
Holy
goes,
shit.
definitely keeping them trapped in. It does take away Freeing's life. Something in with the next, and Mindfreak guns down Hyunmin. Paper Rex look nigh unstoppable right now.
Usually we associate calm, collective, calculated plays from DRX, but we're getting that from Paper X at the moment. The team that you generally in history don't know what's going to be thrown your way. This is a massive revitalization for this squad.
Ooh.
And I would say, you know, you're not quite sure what's going your way. That's exactly how DRX are feeling right now, Komodo.
Yeah. I mean, I was questioning a little bit in the beginning of this map, right? What was this Neon going to look like from Flashback, who is a player who generally, you know, has to play around a site himself. He's very proficient with the utility, peeking on the back of it. You have to be self-sufficient when you're playing on towards those Sentinel agents, right? At the moment, I'm not getting a sense of I'm the duelist. I'm working with my team who can set me up with some utility to go in for the fight. We've seen a little bit of Hyunmin and him, you know, going around together in sewers and A-Long and everything and going for it, but no setups really from any utility, because you look towards it, unless you're getting a Paranoia from Marco or some sort of darts or drone from Bane, it's very difficult to get set up.
Exactly. You don't have that breach. You don't have maybe even a Teo, so it is a little bit tough, but you have been given this duelist role. You need to make something work with it. I have to imagine, given how the first few rounds have played out, DRX are feeling some of those like self-doubt moments, and that's why it hasn't been going too well. So hopefully this time out will bring them back into the game, especially considering the fact that they're sitting on 5 ultimates.
Yeah, I mean, is 7 rounds enough tape here in this map for Termi to get a good idea on what they need to do to at least stabilize in this first half, go over towards your own attacking side, where you actually have looked pretty destructive on that side in recent history? Yeah, it's cheeky.
Yeah, very cheeky position, especially with the cage kind of concealing his movements. Might have heard something, so Hyunmin will stay disciplined, avoids that angle. The rest of the team, though, back into B.
No.
And another eco round to come through from DRX, where Paper X are taking it patient. They're not playing their hand, getting too hungry for anything, just playing together, collective.
Very careful. This is a team that has had perfect games before, but here it comes, the quick execute out. DRX trying to get ahead of things, in with the Hunter's Fury as well, but Mindfreak has managed to seal away with one.
It's the immediate speed up from Paper X, though, to get in towards the A site. Clear it together in numbers. You know what kind of utility you're up against. You know what weaponry you're up against at the moment. You can set yourselves up for a pretty nice plant, though the Neural Theft comes in from freeing, so they know where everyone is.
Still, though, I mean, ahead of the timing game, Paper X has gotten themselves into position. A couple of sprays, but a couple of trades from DRX out as well. Jing in with the 5. They will manage to block off those sight lines, denying DRX any round win.
Yeah,
Yo,
some damage in
imagine a
there for sure, but
13-0,
damage
bro.
is not what we're looking for at the moment, Quack. We're looking for rounds from DRX. We're looking for some sort of plan that goes 100%. I have missed it, and I'm going to highlight this because I think it's quite important, and I'm sorry. I'll apologize first for Flashback. He's still on the donut. There's 0 kills coming through from him at the moment. I want to see him electrified. He's playing Neon. We need to see him get set up for some aggressive play from the team to get into Paper X's face, because when they're playing slow, we're not seeing too much space gathered elsewhere from DRX.
It bears saying, you've got a point, whether you call it a donut or an egg, it needs to be cracked. It needs to be changed into something else, and he's trying to get ahead of that right now, still holding these sight lines down into A short, but it's being blocked off.
Wolverine, he's pushing
There you
over
go.
towards the C side of things, but Flashback, I cursed him. He's been cursed. He's got it on the board.
At the same time, though, off to the other end of the map, Forsaken in with the operator for the first round. Just holding things down. DRX having the numbers advantage will slow things down.
Yeah, the re-clear over towards C as well for PRX. You do currently see Hyunmin on the site itself. Some time to be bought from all this utility as well, but this is where you rest
Oh
on the back
shit,
of
he's
what
not gonna see
PRX
this
do
coming,
best.
bro.
Explode in towards the site.
Oh, he's dead, he's dead,
Clone,
he's dead. Oh
Vault
wait,
line,
he didn't TP.
Paranoia completely blinding Fring
Yeah,
as
he
well.
did.
Forsaken gate crashes all the way towards the back and kind of marks Hyunmin's angle. Still though, with a bit of a strafe, he takes down Jing. At least
Bro, I
Divine
like
something
this
will
PRX,
have each
so
other's backs,
coordinated,
and with
bro.
that, the site completely flooded.
Oh,
Flashback,
shit.
however, tries to get ahead, deny any spike plants. He
look the
will get
wrong
one. Divine
way.
in for the trade with an op. Bane
He looked the wrong
alone
way.
against two.
And the
Plants his position a little bit concealed.
plane goes down as well.
Back into it as well.
Oh, fuck.
Holds it down, finds
Does he know?
something.
Oh, does he know?
And it's a low HP Divine.
I think he
Oh,
knows.
he's dead, he's
Up in
dead.
hand though, but there it
There
is,
you
the
go.
shock dart! You said it, he knows it, he gets the
He
round for
knows it,
DRX.
bro.
I'm not sure if the gun barrel was just spotted. It's such a tight line on the
knows
corner
it.
of that wall. But somebody maybe called it, or maybe he just had the sixth sense. The shock dart to go, the kill to be calculated. Finally, DRX on the board.
And that's a much needed round at this juncture, in this first half. Starting things off with a bit of a kill from Flashback, taking down Mind Freak. That just denied so much with how PRX has been operating in towards a lobby.
And it's another moment in this round where the advantage is on the side of DRX, and PRX reel it back in towards their favor, right? A reposition in towards the C site, behind the dark cover, exploding, layering the utility nicely on in. It's what you do like to see from them, but a good little individual clutch to come out at the end there. It's what you need. You need to see some individual brilliance to come through from DRX at the moment, because as a team, it's not really doing too much. A reposition from Mako, however, and able dispatch of Jing.
Yeah, quick finds, but in with the gate crash once again. The clone as well from Forsaken, trying to gather more information into the C side, and he confirms that there are quite the number of DRX players on the C side.
Another single advantage for DRX, just like last round, but difference in the fact that it's not Mind Freak. Jing going down means no smokes, means you have to try and find a little bit of timing for PRX at the moment, and I thought Mind Freak might have had it, but Marco stepping up when you need a leader to the most.
Quick bits of micro movements as well, and that is going to be DRX finding the timing against a Mind Freak, but now into it, off in the hand of Hyunmin, blocks out Garage, Spike's been dropped, Forsaken though, still looking to get aggressive.
Oh shit, what the
finds a
hell?
triple, tries to go for the next spree,
losable.
but gunned down by Bane.
He's dead.
The salvos go out, and Divine will turn this into a one-on-one. Look for the tap,
damn,
Flashback
bro.
gets it instead!
That was nearly so close for PRX. I think a lot of people would have been yelling, screaming at their monitors. PRX nearly make that work, and for DRX, I mean, you gotta take a sigh, you gotta take a breath. I do like the start, don't get me wrong. Marco trying to do what he can, dancing around the side as well. You know, Hyunmin starting to get what he needs to, but I gotta say, Forsaken, he is in the server today. He's got to be happy with that little performance, and individually as well. Divine, right? For a Taeho in that situation, trying to do what you can with what utility you have. Isolate a single position with the salvos, look around, taking the fight. That's what he'll try to do with the scaling over towards A at the moment with the rest of the squad, where Forsaken will lead with the dimensional drift.
A bit of information as well, but Hyunmin in with the op does deny any potential lurks coming out from Mind Freak, and that is going to be PRX continuing to try and barrel through into this A site. Combo of ultimates heading in.
But can you actually get in towards this at the moment? You're ready for a drop out toward the heavens, and it looks like it might just be the holding of the side at the moment. Bane Flashback getting active.
And they found him. That's a couple more down into
Dude, that
a
was so
short, and that's
fast. What the hell?
DRX denying PRX entry despite the ultimate sent through.
A little bit of a late defensive half resurgence for DRX, but is, you know, an 8-4, a 9-3 going to be enough? I mean, you want to play on the earlier side of that with an 8-4. Of course, but again, you know, PRX, they're still carrying a lot of this momentum. They're figuring out themselves, you know, against the eco rounds, we're playing it slow.
Bro,
against the
bad, bro.
well-equipped
I
rounds of
think
DRX, yeah, we're
DRX
losing a pick, but we're
calm down.
recalculating what we need to do. Grouping up, playing utility,
With
going for a
4.
nice little exit entry, sorry. So I wouldn't be surprised at the moment here with this little lesser equipped party mix of weapons that you have for PRX, that you do play it a little bit slower, that you play on the back of your utilities.
And that does give you a lot of confidence as well moving into the later rounds, even in the second half. It might be an 8-4 if anything. But
Yeah,
we'll
this
see
might
how
be an
PRX
8-4,
continues
bro.
to adjust from the previous rounds. They've been, you know, pretty much dedicated to whatever side they pick.
You don't want to fall into a trap here, though, as DRX. Be brought in towards the A lobby, welcomed with open arms, and waltz in towards a trap of PRX. Do see as well that Forsaken has snuck in towards the garage. Hyunmin being quite cautious of that. You also do have freeing over towards the back of the plat too. So if it does turn into a bit of a C play from PRX, it's not going to be too quick of a rotation from the rest of the DRX guys who are at the A site at the moment still. A transition from Bane currently.
And at the same time, though, Mako also continuing to push out a paper further
What the fuck?
information. DRX pretty much has an idea of what PRX are trying to do. And with that, the angle's being held. The op shots fire through. Bane with a final kill. DRX will secure this last round of the first half for DRX.
Alrighty, 8-4 at the half. After the timeout, that's 4 successive rounds. So, hey, I'm saying coach input verified.
Very much so, and it always has been the case for DRX. Meanwhile, though, for PRX, I mean, this is where you start to question things once again. They started out so incredibly hot, but now they've kind of cooled off.
Yeah, I mean, you're switching things up. You're going over towards your defensive side. If you're dropping towards the pistol round, you know, you can have a little bit of a waltz around and see how are we going to get back in towards this one, right? I think if it was the other way around at the moment, I'd be way more worried in a scenario than for PRX, where I'm a little bit less worried right now from DRX, right?
Surely. That is the case, of course. Double duelist heading into the attacking side for DRX.
And that's where you would expect a little bit more strength to come out, right? If you think about going and diving in towards these sites, there's a lot of options that DRX might win this. Towards,
like, based on the last 3 rounds on the first half,
on making sure that your Sova utility to come out from Bane is going to be there. And remember, it's been a little bit for it.
You need that assistance. You've mentioned it before, not just Bane. You know, it's how they all work alongside each other. Hyunmin and Flashback as well. They need to be supported. Conversely, though, Komodo, I'm thinking for PRX, you know, they started things out incredibly hot. We do have, you know, some of our favorite players on different roles, different agents. How does that continue to play out? Mindfreak, you know, we can kind of expect a consistent performance with that. But how does Jing look on this Omen?
I mean, I think towards how early they got, you know, knocked out over towards kickoff and how much time they've had to actually practice a new emerging comp and meta like the Breach.
Quite a bit of time. Quite a bit of time for sure. We shall see how it does continue to play forward now. Jing thus far has been, I would say, quite okay. 10-5.
Well, standard things, but unfortunately for Freeing, going to be the casualty of the bullets.
Yeah, just a couple of shots blindly through the cage, and he does find something. A kill, that is, not the player.
Kind of passive for PRX at the moment. Don't mind it. Bit of a garage look after for them. Oh, fire dispatched off, however. And that's going to be the B site that you want to start to get aggressive on. Though I'm looking at the other members of DRX. How are you going to get Bane in this? How are you going to get Flashback? If you're trying to tap on towards the plant, you're trying to set Hyunmin in for a bit of a sneaky beaky play, but it's the one-to-one trade. And now you actually have managed to get in towards this A site. Does Forsaken know? It's empty space.
I certainly suspects it, thus not making too much noise as he heads back onto Heaven. Meanwhile, though, the rest of the team just circling back up. They do have the Fault Line Paranoia combo. That allows Forsaken to at least get one. Still trying to get ahead, take the initiative, deny that spike plant, but Bane will hold his ground. A single tap and forced to hang back and reload. Still, though, audio cues be damned.
Bro, I remember, I think Bane was the one who got the ace, right? Like,
looks for the right
versus
timing,
Sentinels,
senses a bit of a fake. Now slowly creeps up. Bane looks to stick, and there it is, the flash sent through. It doesn't quite blind him, though, and Bane will find the headshot. DRX marching forward.
It's close, but it is carried over from the first half. A couple of early duels, right? The one-to-one trades to come out, some repositions around the map. I do really actually like what DRX did over towards the B site. When you take out Devi, you recognize that there's going to be no one else on towards the site. You go in for the look on, are we actually going to plant here? You bait out some rotations from Forsaken off the A site. You get in there and you go for the plant. However, the quick heads up for PRX to recognize they've got a Paranoia fault line combination that they can go in with to drop Forsaken in towards the site. I thought that that retake was going to look good for PRX, but individually at the end, Bane finds that one. This is the way back in for DRX for this map.
Absolutely. It almost definitely feels like DRX are given a lot more options, a lot more freedom with how they've been moving around the map now. You know, a single kill off of B and they don't quite fully commit
they can
because they still
because
have more
Teho.
they can work with. Now, on the anti-eco, of course, straight into C.
Yeah,
got
it's
a bit of a lurk as well.
A difference as well for PRX. When they lose positions around the map, they recognize that they just need to take space somewhere. Yes, it's on the eco round, but I'd love to see this when they get their rifle rounds happening.
Might be a different story if they had guns, but of course now onto the pistols. Just hold up inside garage. util back in, so a bit of a progression smoke. Hyunmin tries to look for a head or two around the dome, doesn't quite find much. That allows for PaperX to march in, boots on the ground, but Flashback still holding the angle, slides forward, and that's gonna be a second kill to his name. Still though, a couple of trades right back from PaperX, and that's enough damage, you would say. Mako trying to hold back true.
Everyone,
ninjas.
Everyone up with the spike at the end. When you can't get any more ultis, you don't want to give anything more over towards Hyunmin, to Bane as well, getting closer to that Hunter's Fury too. You know, these key ultimates that could definitely be impactful when you're going in towards the next gun round for PaperX, for example. That could pick you off at the very beginning, allow DRX to really start to steamroll back in towards this map. Again, you know, not too much that you'll take away from a round such as that. Some damage out of the attempted retake to come out from PaperX for sure.
We do love a diligent Alex. As he marks down further notes, might have spotted something or two, but at the same time, wondering about how this double duelist might work out. Sure, some guns were robbed away, but they will be able to buy or at least trade some weapons off of each other. It's Flashback in with a Bulldog instead of a Bucky.
Yeah. Quick up towards mid as well from DRX. If they actually want to attend towards this seaside at the moment, they're going to have a quick wrap around on towards Mindfreak. He's gone. Do they expect, however, Jing to still be in here? Because it looks a little bit awkward for him. Good for one.
Yeah, and that is going to be an effective flood nonetheless. PaperX continuing to try to rotate forward. It's going to be a bit of a game crash for Forsaken as well.
DRX might
not too sure. Nonetheless, they are still coming in, but then denied out by Mako with a Sheriff. It's just down to Divine. He has to hold on to this gun for the next round.
Was that 7-0?
Well, that's attacking-sided bonuses, unless somehow Divide gets from A to C and a defuse here. Going both of those teams' way on the attacking side. So you're playing towards the narrative that attacking strengths are continuing here on Haven for this Breach Taeho meta.
Oh shit, they know.
That's what you would hope for, but certainly isn't the case
I
right
got a
now.
bad
Yeah,
feeling
DRX,
about
I mean,
this.
I say Breach Taeho, right? But they're changing it up. Double duelist, you got to be a little bit more proficient and cohesive with what layering of utility that you want to do to get in towards the sites. And I'm looking at it here for poor old Devi. He will go down at the end. Bonus not able to take away a rifle towards this next round as well. We're staring down the barrel of a potential equalizer.
Yeah, just 2 rounds and quick enough. DRX are able to kind of suspect what kind of defensive positions PaperX might be holding. That was a very deliberate plan, Komodo, to send Flashback as well as Hyunmin in, both in and outside of Garage, where they start to launch that assault into the C site.
Yeah, double duelist strengths at the moment for DRX are really going to play on the back of changing up their
scary
approaches,
for
right?
PRX,
If you're switching and
PRX
swapping between
Patman
fast
is
plays,
happening if they lose
bait
this, I
plays,
swear.
you know, and, you know, or just pure overwhelming numbers if you're going for a little bit of contact
I mean,
play.
it's already happened, but
that we
PRX
saw from
Patman
PaperX
of
over
the
in the first half,
35.
for example, on this double duelist comp, it's definitely going to be a thing to keep PaperX questioning where do we want to rotate our key positions? Where do we want to layer up any fault line salvo combos? Where do we want to position Forsaken as well to be able to quickly rotate, but more importantly, apply pressure in taking space around the map?
Yeah, the most successful one that we've seen thus far was just on the pistol, where Forsaken managed to get that read, where he was playing kind of passively or defensively enough on towards Hey Heaven. Is that going to be the case for the upcoming rounds, though? Not quite sure, but one thing we can say for sure is that there are millions of Jing fans.
Oh, absolutely. I wonder, though, how many of them actually would have thought Jing and an Omen, right?
No.
How many of them would have thought that they were having a complete switch up towards PaperX, which, you know, I look at this roster of agents and I think this is not incentivized into a W gaming, but it can have its key moments.
Oh, it was 8-0. Holy
We'll see
shit.
if the final score does echo as to how PaperX are looking to perform for the rest of this season.
8-0.
Right now, DRX
And
are
now
very
it's
close to
8-7.
equalizing the score. It might have been a timeout from Alex, but still, PaperX does not have the guns currently.
No, I don't think
They
they
are
should
starting
call a
off with a
timeout. They're
3-2
ready to
split,
anyway. I think they should
It's
call
on
timeout
steady,
if they
but
lose by
Forsaken, he's
what
baited
the
in
fuck?
towards finding some information for himself to try and steer the ship steady for PaperX.
PRX
And
lost,
it's just
bro.
going to be the upheaval in towards this A site for DRX.
Whoa.
Huh?
Okay, no opportunity for Forsaken to gate crash back into safety, and right now, no opportunity for Divide to even find a single frag. Jing, however, marches out of Garage with Mindfreak along his back. He will take a gun away from freeing. But that said, a site has been given over onto DRX.
4 versus 2, plant down, which means everybody is up for DRX as well. Gonna look at the backlines for Marco. Everyone else focused on towards the site at the moment. A lot of utility as well.
Recon.
To be able to play off. I'll actually spot out mine too, so there's an idea that it might even be a double drop towards Heaven. Smoke Jing off, force him to reposition. You hear the Vandal echo
they gotta
too.
save.
That's just a tough situation to be in. Mindfreak in with the Sheriff trying to look for a single pick, but nothing found. Jing off with the save.
Can't blame him. You definitely want all of the pieces going in towards the next round as well. When you looked on the back of what's around the corner for PRX 2, right? Forsaken with the Dimensional Drift. Devi is one away from the Armageddon. These can be some really key ults for retakes as well. If you want to just recognize that you're losing a site, call the audible. Call for the strong retake. Let Forsaken go in, find you all the information. Get your stuns lined up from something. Get all of that utility ready for a really clean retake that those ultimates can definitely provide.
Certainly something that PRX could be looking to pull off in some of the upcoming rounds. Yeah, you do have that Dimensional Drift. You have the
I
Breach
just realized they got
well.
the players got an X on top of their heads,
now,
right?
This
I think
scoreline, Komodo,
they got
it's
their
been
in-game
eight
mics
straight
off.
rounds for
They're
DRX to get
talking,
themselves back into this
like
game.
via Discord or like a
Flashback on the
third-party
overdrive
voice.
as well.
I'm
Human
not
on the
sure.
blades. These duelists are
Isn't that the
certainly
case when there's like an
looking to
X
pop
above
off.
their teammate's
Shock Dart
head
to break a
once they're
trend.
looted?
No trip there at the moment, though. It is just going to be Mindfreak at that C-site to bunker down. Jing falls first, overlooking something at the moment, though, so at least a little bit of a later trade in the mix, trying to get on in. It's so awkward for that spray, but look at Flashback. He's got in the backlines.
Yeah, that's not too bad. 2 for 1. Flashback into the backline, so that's what ultimately cracks open the site. But here comes Forsaken with a bit of an ult. He's looking for information. He's looking to break and force them to disperse. The Flash might just do that. He sends out a second one and looks to infiltrate behind enemy lines. Devi then takes initiative off of that scenario and finds one. A tap from Forsaken down to Flashback.
No way
in a
PRX
sudden
loses this,
1-on-2.
Wait,
Goes for
what
the
the fuck?
peak. And he will take down Forsaken. Could this be the quad? It is! Flashback flashes the winning sign against PRX.
What a flick.
Confidence. That's confidence for Flashback in this squad. The first installment of him on this Neon, and he's starting to get in towards this for the team. I'm looking at towards what Forsaken and Devi are trying to do in that retake, right? When I'm seeing plants go down, 2 versus 3, sometimes you might look to question, why is he using that ultimate? He had an operator, he switched into the Vandal, but more importantly, he's using himself as an information position at the moment there for his teammate in Devi to get the salvos right, to try and flush out the opponents, and I'm thinking it's looking gorgeous in how they're, you know, maintaining their stability in that retake, but no. It comes over. DRX for the lead here and quick in towards the new round.
And now down to the 2-on-1. Clutch brought to you by Red Bull and Flashback, of course, but then next round coming up, bit of info and Forsaken TPs right the heck out of there.
A bit of silence around the server as well. Marco to sneak up towards the C site. A little bit of hesitancy in all the other positions around the map as well. Trade in Garage if you do want, but starting to get a little bit antsy. Spotting out.
Speaking of Garage, that is the position where something was playing earlier before, possibly trying to lure DRX into another hit.
There's a bit of a shift from PRX towards the A side at the moment.
That's right.
This is going to be a bit of a wrong call, freeing. If he spotted out the shoulder or something, would have been a brilliant opener. This is a bit of a misread from PRX.
Yeah, not enough information outside of the A lines, and that brings them over, but gives up more space around C, and that is where DRX will explode. Pain in with the next kill, and all of a sudden, the spike goes down. Garage under DRX's control. I just can't imagine a scenario where PRX takes this round back.
Yeah, that one actually really hurts for PRX too, because you don't mind the starting ideas of that round, right? You drone
wonder who made the call to go away.
there. You see nothing on your C utility. You have a spot out through Garage. You see nothing, so you
Garage,
start to
'cause Stream
calculate.
was on
Yeah,
B.
they're over towards A. They're
They
either
got
sewers
no
or they're
info
long,
C.
though we don't really
There
have
was
any
no
idea to
info there. I'm not
confirm
sure
that,
who
right?
made the call
Forsaken's
to
not
go
in a
away.
forward line. You don't have, you know, anything else really over there. Devi, well, he was
Like,
just
what a
focused in
gamble,
droning
bro.
towards mid, so even he can't do anything over towards A, who's the extra closer
ooh.
member. So, unfortunately for
gun.
PRX in this round, they do have to look to try and save the remainder of their guns.
Yeah, still though, they are conceding that round, and as we near double digits, well, we just landed on double digits, Komodo. It is going to be a bit of an intense scenario, let's say, for PRX to be in, you know, starting to feel that pressure mount up again, and this is where you can wonder, is the pressure getting to them?
Potentially so. You're looking around what some sort of successes would come out from a comp like this that PRX are playing with, and you're not really seeing, you know, a lot of those normal combos of fault lines and salvos, then getting Forsaken on the line. back to the drawing board to get some information from Alex. What does he recognize at the moment? Because remember, when DRX were in a situation like this on their other side, Termi goes for the timeout, and they come out with a flawless remainder of the half, 4 in a row, and then, well, look at this, Quack. They've continued a flawless run so far.
I know. 10 straight rounds for DRX after losing 8 straight ones, but you know what? I love this timeout. I don't mind it. Even if Alex doesn't necessarily have anything too cerebral to call out for his team, just a bit of a breather could be enough for them. At the same time, though, he is being very active, so I do wonder what kind of plan he has cooked up for the next round. They managed to keep their guns, at least.
Yeah, surviving with a couple of them over will bolster them up in a round such as this, but you've got a question, right? The momentum going over towards DRX, who you're thinking might be a bit shaky going onto a double duelist that we've not really seen. Some role shifts across the whole server.
Oh, still online.
Yeah, I was about to say as well, Rolling Thunder, Armageddon, again, key pieces that you can, you know, take in towards a retake. One from Mind Freak away for that neural theft. So I'm thinking, well, if you're going to be forced in towards a retake, these aren't the worst items to have available.
Oh, well, they do start out with a bit of a creep outside of B. Forsaken for sure. He does have the gate crash towards the back of A as well. Just a bit of a spray, doesn't see anything. So back into the A site where DRX, you know, off the previous round win, they think, well, we could probably do something around here as well.
Well, it would be successive, but again, if you are going to shift in towards a retake for PRX, you definitely want to have these abilities, right? So they've been holding a bunch of them just by the nature of how the start of this round was played.
You gotta imagine you have to work off of some kind of info, and that's what that drone is looking to do. Spotted out a little bit, Rolling Thunder immediately out, still holding on to the armor, get it. But here he comes, a bit of a clone sent through.
Wait,
Armageddon
PRX
to clear out
this.
short. Forsaken starts his assault
Yeah, they win
out
this.
from heaven. 3 kills down, and down with the salvos as well. Divide picks up the last one. PRX find their way back in.
Yeah, after the timeout, an immediate effect, right? So you're playing a good percentage on the back of that one. But again, Rolling Thunder not directly laid where the Armageddon is too. You're waiting for Forsaken to get that blind side out of heaven and gate crash into the site or drop on down. You know, some nice ideas from PRX in that scenario, but they don't play their hand. They don't get too overcomplicated, right? It's not like you're throwing the whole kitchen sink in towards that round. It's very cohesive. What positions of utility they need to throw in out. Even the Aftershock in Hell, you know, it does some work to try and dislodge flashback. So I really do like how that retake was formulated for PRX.
And that's a great round for them, a sigh of relief if anything. But with the fact that it's a flawless, you just got to imagine how much more they can get. If anything, it does force DRX to kind of scramble all throughout.
4 players towards the A side of the map at the moment for PRX. A 1-to-1 trade at the end, but that would signify a go time towards this C side. If you sniff out, there's no trap there from Mind Freak though, because there's camera, there's some trip, but they're just going to get in.
Yeah, still able to. Double duelist, of course. What I'm most curious about, though, is Mako on this deep lurk outside B. Does PRX find him at some point? If not, it could be trouble. Right now, though, at least Forsaken does spot Hyunmin out by C-Long. 3 players, though, from DRX, all coming in. They're just looking to provide that additional support, and there it is. Even with a second flash, it's not going to be enough. Something will get gunned down, and that's the entire C-Long area being controlled by DRX. A tough defuse going through. Mind Freak, though, nonetheless, still trying to stick it, but here comes that Hunter's Fury. He gets lazed, and all that's left is just Divide. Mako marches forward back in towards C-Link.
No way, it was an
Divide
8-0, bro. 8-0.
Just looking for a bit of a safe haven. Well, on the map of Haven, of course, but still, he's somewhat surrounded. Look at Bane.
Untenable. An absolutely untenable position from him in the beginnings of this retake here. I got to highlight as well, right? You mentioned Marco going for that little lurk as Devi loses the gun there. Awkward. Marco's position actually extremely paramount. When he throws out a paranoia, it dispatches the guys around C a little bit from PRX. Starting to consider, is Marco actually going to play on the back of this rotate? Is he going to get in our backlines?
Wait, I don't get it. Why is Jing on smoke?
On Forsaken and on something in that flank of their own to try and get some damage, because if that flank is successful, Bane doesn't have the Hunter's Fury. The team of DRX are not looking towards the spike, and you can get some sort of retake happening successfully. So a couple of key moments in that round going DRX's way.
For sure, but right now, I mean, still, all eyes are on Forsaken, how he's going to work this Euro. Previously, with that Dimensional Drift, trying to get space around C-Long, didn't quite work out this time. 4-stack into Garage. Now they're dispersing. No info found. DRX are very, very cautious with how they're looking for this map point.
I mean, changing up the approach, though, are PRX, sending Mind Freak's territory over towards this A site and freeing, just playing hooky with the camera, but eventually getting the job done. You start to piece together a bit of information around where these players are on the map.
Bit of a chase against that stealth drone as well, but here goes. More information found. Defy, though, open positions. And that's going to be Pain punishing them right down. Hyunmin off towards the back of A as well. Forsaken, the only one left. In with a Phantom. Quick in towards the open lanes once more. And Flashback says, lights out.
Poor surviving as well for DRX in that scenario. Again, another gun round to come through from PRX where you're seeing a change, right? As I mentioned, the Cypher setup over towards A. You're trying to look for your Cypher locking down one area of this map to let the rest of your team explore.
It
play on
feels like
utility,
they're
play on
peeking one
information.
by one,
Feels like
it's
something at
there's
the end
no
of
set
that one,
detail,
a little
except
bit
for like the
disconnected
first
from the
5
rest of the
seconds of
team,
the
right?
round when
Losing
they
their
got
lives in towards the
a
front of
stun
B,
and a
not setting up any
Teho,
combinations of
Teho
utility
rocket,
or anything for
and that's
himself
pretty much
to be
it,
a bit
bro.
self-sufficient.
Mid-rounding
so, a bit
though?
awkward for PRX, and now 3 chances. 3 for DRX to close out this map.
All right, chance uno. And they start things off a little bit safer than before. A 2-3 split with Forsaken up towards a very forward. Unfortunately for him, though, Freeing has snuck past. That could be, you know, the nail in the head.
This can be so powerful for him. It's just how he plays it at the moment, and the opener is there on a Forsaken. That has to be the call for the team to immediately get over here. He's setting up all the forward utility. It's just Heaven that's going to be a little bit dirty. And now Marco, again, can transition into playing his own little lurk, and we've already seen how destructive that has been so far too.
Very, very much so, Komodo. This could be it. DRX, not only did they win out in timing or the duels, they're winning out in positions as well. And PRX just have to consistently watch their back. That is nothing too comfortable. You're gonna always feel like someone's right behind you, and as they push on out, it's a choke point. DRX has them under a chokehold, winning out 13-9 as the final score on their own map pick of Haven.
A singular defensive round to come through from there on PRX's
Okay,
side.
Bobby,
It's got to be a
you know
little
what?
bit hurting
PRX
for them. And not
lost.
even a little bit, really. You're up 8-4 at the
PRX
half.
lost.
You're thinking all the
DFM
momentum's
won.
going on
It
your
was
way.
8-0, bro.
And then
It was
DRX just
8-0,
kind of
bro.
come out
And
of the
they lost.
gates a little bit
PRX
firing,
lost.
continuing towards the second half, and you feel like you really don't have a leg in this race. So back to the drawing board a little bit for PRX, and I got to say, you know, a nice idea for them to try and change things up, right? Playing the old DRX comp, trying to adopt some features that we see some strengths from them previously here, but I don't think even then they thought that DRX were going to come out with a double duelist, and it wasn't even a double duelist really that relied on heavy dives and everything, right? Because it was still quite methodical from DRX that we usually associate for them playing meta comps.
Very much so, and we can see it all happen, you know, maybe at the helm of Mako as the IGL, maybe even with Termi with that little timeout from before, but once that was all called, you saw the effects of it. Still, I want to say there are 2 sides to any coin. This was DRX's map pick after all, and with a scoreline like this, I think PRX shouldn't be too harsh on themselves.
No, I don't think so. A bit of a warm-up to come in towards stage 1 as well, where I'll say the format isn't as maybe brutal as kickoff, right? They're really early here. They've got a little bit of time to collect themselves to get a little bit of a deeper run.
Yeah, but that said, still, you gotta admire how they work this meta composition. Of course, Jing on the Omen as well. It's not too bad. Hopefully it does look out a little bit better for Icebox, but right now, it's just the way it is, and we're gonna have to toss it back over onto the desk to break all of this down because, well, DRX definitely still in the lead.
What a hot start to today's match, PRX and DRX, and there was a moment in the first half where we said, oh my god, PRX is back, oh my god, DRX, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Then things swiftly turn around. They had a really good first half, PRX in the ball of doom, but we didn't see much more after that when DRX figured it out in the first half.
Yeah, I couldn't believe what I was watching at the start. This didn't look like the same DRX at all. I was saying, you know, what are they doing? None of this makes any sense. And then it's like, you know, they kind of remembered what game they're playing for a second, and then, you know, they woke back up. But this is the classic, like, they had us in the first half, not gonna lie, you know.
Textbook. At the end of the day, like, you have 2 pretty big comp switches and role changes for both of these teams. You're going to get a lot of parity, and I think for PRX, they had a good approach initially. They went up 8-0, but they let DRX back into the game. They got a little bit too one-dimensional. They kept going for that kind of death ball contacty style over towards C. In particular, it's something that DRX heavily started to figure out, and then they got pistol, and then they got bonus win, and they were well and truly back in the game. I don't feel like they had a very strong, defined idea of what they wanted to do on defense until they started to respond to what PRX was doing to them and to adapt to them a little bit more. But it was a great turnaround from Flashback, who hasn't ever played Neon before. It's his first game on Neon ever.
Yeah, we were doubting it for sure, but he kind of showed us up there, you know. Map MVP there. He actually had a fantastic game with some great kills. Now, this is a big thing we wanted to talk about from that first half, is we can see how grouped PRX end up playing when they go into this attack. They love this kind of 5-man death ball. None of this fancy messing about defaulting. This is punch you in the face Valorant, where they go and trade. We saw this again and again and again through the first half, and it's a huge part of their defining style. It's what's made PRX who they are. It's how efficiently they're able to trade, and it looked strong.
Honestly,
but towards
so
the end of that half, when DRX got the read,
stream.
they managed to shut it down.
Like after
Yeah,
map
for sure.
two.
Some really
Holy
good
shit.
adaptations from them time and time again. I mean, you see these side executes just kind of making sure they minimize risk with all the utility. They go in together. It's
like
good
PRX
spacing
has
and
no
good trading
mid-rounding.
time and time again. I think here you see a classic bonus round from DRX. Here you see the neon wall and the smoke over in towards A-Link, and you turn it into a back garage wrap towards C. It's what allowed DRX to win the bonus, and you're able to come away with rounds like that when you play this neon comp. It has so much pace behind it. You could be in grass 1 second, and then all of a sudden you're wrapping back garage, you're catching the other team completely off guard. It just wasn't something that PRX were ready for. And even, you know, Flashback, for an example, is a player that, you know, you put him into these clutch positions, for example, that he's been able to show on the Sentinels and things like that. And he's playing the Neon, in this case, ends up backside C, and he's able to come away with the goods. This is a perfect example of I saw him win this exact same clutch on the Cypher in kickoff against one of the other opponents that they played over there. So it was fantastic stuff from him. I was not a believer on the attacking, on the defensive arm. I was thinking, what the hell are they doing? And he really turned it around. I think as well, freeing onto the Cypher, it's one of his most played agents. So we've been talking about him only playing Teo so far this year, but Cypher is a very, very good pick for him, and it's a agent that he played, and a role that he played a lot of over in Rare Atom.
Yeah, he's trying to expand this pool. He's trying to show us that it's not a crutch, you know. He can do more. And I mean, I think there's still more we have to see. I don't think his Cypher was quite as good as his Teo was, but you know, they got over the line, and that's what's important.
You're still on about the Teo.
I hope he plays it on Icebox. I want more.
He's a great Cypher. But speaking of Icebox, we haven't seen these two teams play Icebox in quite a while, especially against each other. And now with the Teo, with Waylay, even ISO being buffed, Harbor being buffed, we've got a lot of changes happening, so Icebox is going to be really interesting. And what else has changed is DRX in their playstyle. The fact that they picked double duelist on Haven and played the way they did is already an evolution of this team. PRX, on the other hand, swapping roles. The thing is, I feel like we didn't really get to see fully what that means. Is if it's just Haven with Jing and Mindfreak swapping this one map, is it a permanent thing? And with the Ball of Doom, it's kind of hard to determine how effective they are.
I think Mindfreak playstyle-wise does fit a Sentinel. I don't mind that change at the end of the day. So I think that's fine. For Jing on something like an Omen, you could be a little bit more aggressive in that controller role. I think a lot of people were asking to see more of Jing on an Omen or something, so they were quite surprised when Jing was put on Sentinel roles and things like that when PRX were going to more standardized comps. So I think they're experimenting with some things. I mean, we've seen plenty of Breach already from something, so that's not a huge departure. And Forsaken on a flash, flash in agent, or like a flash duelist in this case, like a Yoru, is not outside the realms of possibility.
Yeah, I do have to say as well, it's definitely nice seeing DRX not run this Teo style in a way, you know? There was a lot of talk of like, you know, that was their style, right? They ran it the whole way through kickoff, the whole way through Masters, and now they're showing, hey, we don't even need that. Well, we can play well, we can win maps without doing that. So it really shows that extra wrinkle that they managed to add to their game post-Masters.
To touch on that, like you're talking about Teo, freeing not being on Teo, so what do you put him on? Well, he played Senti before like a Cypher, so that forces Flashback into a different role, and in this case, that's Duelist. you know, it went okay, I think. Definitely, you know, one half was not great, one half was amazing. So we'll see if they continue to do stuff like that in the future.
I'm just wondering how this is going to carry forward. Again, into Icebox. Flashback, yes, our MVP. We were a little, you know, curious about the Neon. Like
Dude is a
we've
menace,
said,
bro. Flashback.
Very first time
Jesus.
he's been on the Neon, but he proved it, had a lot of really great clutch rounds that helped carry them forth actually in that first half and build up that momentum. I wonder how often are we going to see this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down for it more after this map. You know, the casters spoke about this during the game, but Neo needs a lot of setup. And at the start, it didn't feel like he was managing to get that. And then as the team kind of clicked, settled into the game, it felt like he was able to get set up a little more, like we spoke about in that bonus round.
Well,
he was able to settle into the server and win those clutches.
I mean, it just comes down to what side that they were playing on, right? You know, you can play the game in the way that you intended and be a little bit more assertive on attack. Defense, they weren't really sure that what to do on their initial approach against what PRX was doing, and once they actually started to get their stuff together a little bit more and adapt, that's where he was able to shine, and they understood, okay, we need to play a bit more of a retake style, we need to play kind of a flood style on C, for example, and understand how the Neon actually fits into that.
I do want to talk about expectations for the remainder of this month. Do you guys stand by your DRX prediction?
I mean, I do after that. I'm glad that they settled in, but map 2 is a complete unknown, right? You know, no Pacific teams played Icebox in a long time, let alone just these two teams, so we don't know what to expect. Icebox is now a place where you're able to be a little bit more creative than you used to be as well. We know PRX are a creative team, so I'm going to be shocked if I see PRX play the meta comp on Icebox.
Really?
I just don't see it now.
But
I get that that's the direction that they're going, but give me something. Go back to the old school ways. Give me Waylay. Give me Harbor.
I hope so too. But even like PRX, for example, even when people were playing like KO Gecko and things like that, they were still playing Sage, and still like the most common comp on Icebox, and they were a good team doing that on Icebox.
Like I think they can run Sage, but I just don't. You know, we see them pick up this Breach Teo, and it looked, you know, it looked fine for the first half, but then it fell apart on the defense when you know, it's less about trading and it's more about setups. So Icebox is a protocol-heavy map, so I don't want to see them rely on that when that's not who they are at their core. They're W gamers, so I want to see that back.
Do you think we're going to see any surprises from DRX? I know this is a little bit, you know, we're theorizing here a little bit, but I am still really surprised about Haven. So.
The thing is, I wonder how cooked that was, though, because they are one of the teams that have come off Masters. They've had less prep time than a lot of other teams. Maybe they're just throwing something like an off-comp in there. So Icebox is a big question mark for me. In fact, I would expect DRX would be the team to either they're going to throw a curveball in terms of a half-cooked comp, which I think that Haven comp might have been, to be fair. But I think I would expect them to do something a little bit more standardized versus PRX, who've had a lot of time to prepare. I would expect them to be the team, especially being the team that did pick Icebox into this series, to throw something a little bit more crazy in there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. You know, it's nice having a map that's a complete unknown. It's always great when we get these map pool changes. And I think when a map comes back in and there's lots of changes in Valorant, for me that's the most fun time because everybody gets to try new things.
Oh, absolutely. And I expect nothing less from both of these two teams now, where DRX used to be kind of predictable, really solid, but also very predictable. And they do not disappoint.
Okay.
Let's go!
Forsaken is adding another notch
Waylay,
to the agent pool.
Yeah.
Here.
It's Waylay time. We finally got it. Now, this is such an exciting comp from PRX, pairing it up with the Teo. We have the KO that we saw dominate on the map before, but Waylay is going to be the star. The first time it's been picked in Pacific, and who else to do it but Forsaken?
Yeah, no hard senti from PRX though, so there will definitely be gaps on their defense initially to exploit. DRX need to be well aware of that. They can definitely get a lot more space up middle. I'm keeping an eye on what PRX are going to be able to do with this Waylay. I think they have to go for things like tube aggression or keep an eye on middle a lot more, just because they don't have something like a Killjoy, which really helps you keep a lot of control on the map on defense. And for DRX, I mean, it's a very standardized comp, just with the change of initiator and keeping freeing on the Teo. So I want to see how Teo goes here on Icebox.
Well, you got your Tejo, and Jing is also now playing an initiator on Tejo. We're going to go back to our casters Komodo and Quack to take this crazy next map away.
Thank you very much, Victoria, as well as Big Time and Pilsky. I think Pilsky got some really good points, though. I mean, a Sentinel's composition is going to be a little bit tricky, especially given how PRX are starting out on the defense. But you gotta love how they're trying to work alongside the Teo and the meta picks. Waylay already kicking off. It's a bit of an aggressive line with the Viper around 410.
Yeah, well, everybody for DRX bar one surrounding this A side as well, right? So a little bit of a slower stall up towards the side itself, and you don't generally think that Waylay is going to be a defensive agent, but then you got to remember that the Refract's going to allow Forsaken to go in for a challenge, take the hopeful dub, and then get out.
Yeah, kind of similar to how he was playing that Yoru before, but you got to be very careful, right? Just pressing that ability or refracting back, there is a very tiny window where you can get punished. So right now, it's just playing it safe, off angles, in towards the site. Not going to be able to find too much though, and a bit of a salvo being sent through as well. Jing holding on to his currently, but there it goes, allowing for the rest of the team to kind of flood back in. However, that dark smoke, that one way, is blocking so much of it off. As soon as it blooms away, it's going to be Hyunmin now finding the shot back in. Straight in with the Sheriff's, though. Flashback will get gunned down, and here it comes. Bane back in towards a safer spot. Trades for trades, and Freeing will take the next player down. Mindfreak even gunned down from the back. All that's left is just Devi. The spike, not yet planted. 20 seconds left. What?
Yeah, Marco holding out in mid. Very nice timing as well to just recognize that there's a potential flank to come through from PRX, and at the end of all the damage that is delivered on the A site, Freeing on 2 HP, and Marco still on 100 is what is left for DRX to pretty much continue the flawless run from our first map. But Devi here, 10 seconds off the 0 point, but spotted out.
Yeah, and you gotta imagine Freeing's just playing from a very safe spot. He's holding on to those salvos for sure. So the first obstacle, you gotta break through Devi. It's gotta be Mako. He's still playing around the boxes so much though. A bit of a tag, it's not gonna be enough. Devi needs to push up front, and as he does, he's gonna be exposing himself to more angles. Mako's got this under lock and key.
Pissed around over towards DRX, but you got to consider it was very winnable for PRX when they're actually taking their time, dumping a lot of this utility in towards the A site to try and make things a little bit hot and heavy for DRX. So look at all of this utility around the site, and when the dark cover fades, that's when you have to just see these duels be won out by DRX, and that's exactly what happens. Some trades there for sure, yes, but ultimately in the round, it's Marco's kill on towards Mindfreak that I would say was a pivotal moment. If he loses that duel, I mean, you play to the numbers, right? The 1 versus 2 should go the way of PRX there.
Yeah. That said, though, I mean, a lot of it is still going down to the double controller. Oh, wow, okay, starting things off. Salvo's already towards the back of Belt. DRX just hanging back a little bit as well. You know, they've got all these players here. They've got the guns. And at the same time, what was Pilsky talking about again?
Wait, what the fuck?
Hard
No
Sentinel.
way!
Yeah, Mako gets a slip.
Mako, you're fucking crazy, Mako.
He does spot out Mindfreak. Trigger discipline, though, and he's just holding onto it. Mindfreak now gunned down. Headshots through.
What
the rest
the
of the team
fuck?
will launch their assault in.
He's got another one. He's looking for 3.
No!
That's crazy. What a flank to come out from Marco. A flawless round to come through from DRX, but you just got to remember it is against the weak pistols of PRX, right? You can't take away too much from that round. A nice idea for them to stack, for sure. Yeah, a nice idea. But I will say one thing, actually. What does that expose? It exposes the tube position. It exposes that because you don't have a Sentinel, you have to be way more proactive around the map as PRX. And this agent composition that they've got is technically able to do that. If you've got nice timing on your darts, your 0 point, your recon, you can do something like that.
And that's where I get a little bit concerned as well, Komodo, because PRX, as it is, are already facing so much pressure from the fans, from their team, from each other even at times. And it just can't feel good. You know, you're constantly thinking now, and now you might be worrying about Tube so much so that you're playing way too defensive. Look at what they're doing right now. Hanging back, trying to check for mid. DRX, meanwhile, just continues to hold, slow creeps up back in towards A.
Yeah, and if you're DRX at the moment, how do you want to try and get in towards this site too, right? What sniffing abilities do you technically have? You've still got the drone to come out from Freeing, but more importantly, right, do you want to try and just recollect together when you hear some utility going from PRX? Because this gives you the idea that they don't 100% know where you are either, right? They're trying to figure out the information at this point in the round at the same time.
Precisely, and that's just what happens. Drone out from drone, one into mid, one from A in from DRX, and with that, they time it perfectly into B as well. So a bit of a toxic screen, a bit of a jiggle from Mindfreak as well. but I don't know if he spotted out enough.
Yeah, there's 2 positions around the map that are of key importance. What damage can Freeing do to keep PRX here? And importantly, what information do PRX find
What
over
the
at the B
fuck,
side?
bro?
And
What is
unfortunately,
this
they started to
game?
shift,
No
which
way.
meant vulnerability for something. And now look how far forward Freeing is.
That is
20 seconds though, 20 seconds.
incredible. But yeah, I think
Oh,
they're
fuck,
still
20
good,
seconds
Komodo.
though,
20
20
seconds,
seconds.
yes,
They
that might
can't
be
plant.
the case, but
They
Freeing's
can't
got
plant.
all of this locked down. Still though, okay, looking away, 90 degrees, just around screens, it's a little bit scary. The Salvos does buy some time, but DRX still looking for a safe spot to plant. Bane gets it just in the nick of time. PRX might have the site surrounded, but at the same time, Mako still not detected. Davai will look to launch the assault straight in, takes that one pick off against Flashback. And at the same time, Forsaken still alive. No utility though, so he's just gonna have to gun his way through. Takes down Freeing, and all that's left, Bane and Mako all the way towards the back. They have the spike under their sights. Looking to play around that though, but the reload not in his favor. Forsaken will swing, but Mako swings as well. That's a shot, a trade for trade. And down it's just Mind Freak around the toxic screen. Mako spots him anyway.
Getting the plant down at the right spot at the end where all that utility looks to stall you. The reason I highlight 20 seconds back as well, because you've got to wait and respect out salvos. A lot of times when teams have those available, right, you have to recognize as well. Have we seen them? Are they down the 40 seconds as well? They throw them out, they stabilize at the end there. I want to highlight too, a good 0 point actually in the middle of this retake meant that DRX had to fight a couple of those duels dry. And it starts to look a little bit awkward, right? PRX are hitting the shots in towards that one, but at the end, I think you just kind of forget about all the early stages in the round because, well, Mako just gets the clutch.
Yeah, it's just another delicious Red Bull clutch from Mako, as he's known to do. That said, though, I want to see PRX play a little bit more comfortably, right? You know, playing defensive just isn't quite working out for them. But right now, in a bit of a 3-2 split, they peek into B and they don't see anything.
Yeah. That's important as well, right? Recognize that PRX are trying to do something with the lesser weaponry. I love to see these sort of ideas on towards the gun rounds as well. If you can fashion a good duel, a good overwhelming force, it can always go a treat. But the fact that they don't see anything at B, they're going to have some numbers here for the retake when the spike does go down.
With that, numbers for numbers, yeah, Komodo, I'm still quite worried. You know, given the weaponry, it's going to be tough for PRX. Bit of a refract from Forsaken. I don't know how much information that's really gonna give.
What the fuck was that, bro?
Toxic
Is
screen
that a
up.
rewind by
Maybe they look to stick
Forsaken?
the defuse somewhere here or there.
There's only
Like,
so
what
many
is the
positions
purpose
that
of
you can
that?
look to
Like, it
spam
doesn't
this
do
defuse
anything.
down attempt though, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be tough for sure. One point on another, they're gonna have to push out, and as they do, it's gonna be a bit of a choke point. 2 angles being locked down, freeing alongside Flashback. Hyunmin now chiming in as well. Only 1 frag found for PRX. DRX, on the other hand,
Bro,
a 4-0 scoreline.
Yeah, off to a
What the
similar
hell is
start
that
from what PRX were able to do over on Haven, right? So it feels like attacking side, your opponent's map pick, good start, but does it falter over at the end? I mean, we'll have to see that in a couple of moments' time in the future. But right now, I mean, DRX are looking to carry momentum. They're looking to be very cohesive. You know, the comms you're expecting to be good because everybody is recognizing on DRX at the moment what utility needs to go where, even in the positions where the time is starting to become a factor, they're also, you know, kind of looking pretty good. So try to cut the head off this one nice and early. PRX have a timeout, and we already saw in the first series, right, conversion rates on the back of timeouts.
And that's the whole thing. You know, PRX, they have been known to do this before off of timeouts, but it's been a bit of a tough year for them so far. We'll see if this really comes into factor for them. You can see that Alex, at the very least, you know, he isn't mauling. He's very active, and hopefully that does help them. But at the same time, I just got to imagine for DRX, they've won the whole of kickoffs. They've challenged tough opponents back on bigger stages than this. As we head back on over to Pacific, playing old compositions that they've been known to play before. I just imagine, even with new players, they're very comfortable working with Hermes' system.
Yeah. Well, I'll flip it on the other side for a moment, right? For PRX, they weren't a bad Icebox team back in the day when it was in the pool, right? You think of Forsaken getting out on the Sova, more importantly, Jing on the Sova, having Davai on the Killjoy, right? These were Sentinels that were able to play around the map, were able to lock things down very convincingly. That was a key strength of PRX back then. And here, you change it up completely on its head, and we're just seeing very big disconnection at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a mental thing for them, but we'll see if they can frag themselves back in the game, if anything. Right now, they have the guns, of course, but still, smoke's up and online, and right now, it's going to be the B site under attack. DRX have already planted their boots firmly into the ground. Vayne in with a single headshot. Gunman looks to take down the player out from upper, but also something just getting into safety.
Quick in towards this B site and a protective pit as well. I mean, how do you get into this retake as PRX?
It's going to be tough for sure. Be it Forsaken can do something, but he's on it. On top of all things, the ult as well, and it continues to work against PRX's dismay. At the same time, Flashback coming up from behind. Vayne repositioning around as well. The pit might fall, and PRX might be able to push up, but you are absolutely right, Komodo. They are running out of time. Bit of Taeho utility. The Armageddon rings through. They're off of the spike. They might have yellow under control, but do they find the frags? That is the key here. Something tries as he does. He manages to take away 2, but needs a little bit more. Flashback suddenly now up from behind reveals the surprise that PRX does not have any control whatsoever.
Yeah, pretty quick explosion in towards the B site from them, and I'm thinking to myself, if they're able to get in here, get a pick or not, but if you get the Viper's pit down, it's going to be so difficult for them to get back in towards a retake. I'm looking at PRX. You mentioned that there's an operator in there.
Bro, is 11-1.
It's a difficult weapon to get in towards it, specifically on this waylay where you're trying to see players that are adopting it, getting in quick, getting the information, maybe a kill, and then refracting back out, right? Already using that ability earlier on, no longer available. Yes, you could try and use your ultimate to get your team in towards it, but you just look at that B side, how disconnected DRX are from the actual position. It's awkward. And you switch in towards the next round where you've got an immediate A assault being shut down. These pistols of PRX not able to find too much.
Yeah, this pistols, after all, which you gotta imagine doesn't feel too good. At least Jing will be able to get away with one up on pipes, but at the same time, back into B, we got a little bit of
Ring around the
loop. Yeah, that's right. Mindfreak spotted out by the alarm bot. Oh, and turns around. Hello, Flashback's there. And with that, an open B side as well for DRX.
Yeah, maybe you can take that gun away that Vayne did drop. I mean, Devi's already got that in possession too, right? So we'll see what damage is going to be able to be delivered in this scenario. You're playing towards ultis here as well. You're saying who's going for the plant, freeing, get closer towards an Armageddon. You're never going to mind that with how successive that ultimate can be.
Yeah, all of these just point towards even more rounds for DRX.
Yeah.
You know, closer ultimates, but at the same time, looking at this, the positioning that they are working with so far, you have to imagine at some point just the fact that you don't have these traps around the map. You know, DRX gets to walk around so much.
Yeah.
Mako just into this spot. Okay, gunned down by Devi, but now it's on to Flashback, out by mid. Jing at least marks down the position. So a couple kills. That is still a bit of damage being delivered by PRX.
Yeah, there's a lot of credits, however, for DRX. So they're not going to be too phased on the back of this one. I mean, you'll just take away a death orb, right? So you get a little bit closer towards your ultimates to have a massive round later on, which is kind of the position that we're starting to kind of need from PRX, though, right? We need a massive round to come out from them because they're going for a little bit of the space control, right? We see it over at B earlier on where there's no DRX members home. We see it in this pistol round where they attempt the same sort of thing, but over at this A site, there's DRX members, but they get shut down, right? So we're kind of seeing, all right, cut PRX a little bit of slack if they go for something like a stack, right? I wouldn't mind seeing them go for a bit of a stack, go for a full retake if DRX do not go towards their site, but also in a stack scenario, don't get too aggressive. You got a lot of this utility that you can stall DRX out, and if you make them reset, you buy yourself a lot of time.
That's exactly what PRX has to do. Here it comes, quick dashes in, ooh, but instantly gunned down. The entire Korean squad will deny Forsaken any early space. Spike dropped into safe positions as well. The Armageddon sent through. Mindfreak being able to hold down the entire B by himself. Hello, that's good. And at the same time now, continuing to push out front. Devi off the null command, unfortunately gunned down. Still kind of ringing through, pulsing away with his ultimate, but his teammate now coming back in for support.
Sniffing things out with the drone as well. Feels like you're not going to be able to get Devi back on up. The trades start to come out. It's all Mindfreak.
As his head gets revealed as well. Flashback trying to work around it. Still looking to play the objective. The spike will go down. Mindfreak just tries to delay a little bit further with the snake bite. Might be able to gun himself through. He hears the tap at the very least, but not quite finding a position. Still has to watch out for Flashback. There it is, at least the first kill. Nanoswarms instantly popped, and Flashback looks to play around the wall. but Mindfreak,
Finally.
steady as ever, will spot him out. An entire ace in the round being picked up by the
Wait, that's an
DG player.
ace?
Individual moments. Generally memorable in Valorant, right? For PRX, that is an important one in this series right now to get back in towards this map, hopefully. To start with a foot in front of the other on this map. Mindfreak to do it all. And you got to remember as well, right? I'm saying at the beginning of this round, if you're going for a stack, not to get too aggressive, because we haven't really seen too much success for setting up Forsaken on the back of these waylay positions, right? He gets on in, but there's too many DRX members that look at that position because there's a quick time, right? To get that gun out. But I think more importantly, Mindfreak planted his feet around that B side. He knew where they were coming from. He knew Marco was going to be lurking up towards Kitchen or somewhere in that round, and he found what he needed to.
And that's what you gotta love. Now, although Forsaken with a waylay instantly dashes onto the top of Tube, doesn't see anything though.
Oh.
And that's where his refract gets called out. Mindfreak comes back in just to help out his fallen teammate.
Whoa.
At the same time though, DRX still working all the ways around the map. Flashback takes down the next player, Something.
Yeah, but you immediately just turn tail and run over towards the A side because you got the kill here from the back of Flashback, from the shadows to quickly get a plant. This buys so much time in the rotation actually from PRX right now. Device low. Mindfreak has a pit, but you got to get into the site to even try and use that. I wouldn't be surprised if you just go for a save here.
It's going to be tough. DRX having all that time, they've already set themselves up in towards further positions. So you are absolutely right. It's just a little bit too risky, especially at this point in the first half.
I do like, again, the idea that PRX have these plans of action for what Waylay is to provide, right? When you're trying to light speed over towards the tube, you're trying to find some timing in combination with a flash, right? So you'll be seeing Divide try and set up a flash drive with right timing to get that peek over to find anybody who's lurking into mid, where Marco has been playing so much this map so far, right? But he just kind of holds W, shifting up, gets in front of that utility. You see generally really timing needed though with the flash drive or with players around the world playing
That's the thing, Komodo, because, you know, although these combos can work out, they haven't really gotten the right reads to figure out where DRX are.
Or timing, right? So those flashes, they have to be timed to perfection, because if that flash drive that'll come out is not timed right, you're either not getting any flash value against your opponents, or you're flashing Forsaken at that moment, and he needs a little bit of time by that flash for his equipment, right? He needs to get that gun up. So a nice idea, execution not really there.
Yeah, it could have been, you know, workshopped a little bit further.
Bro, Forsaken missed
right
the
now,
thing.
just playing for that information.
Forsaken missed the rope,
slipping
bro.
under their noses every single round. You know, whether it's back onto the other end of the sites. This time though, Forsaken will be able to sneak up onto Nest and get one for free.
Yeah, freeing down. That's a lot of your scaling utility to sniff out what's around the site down as well. Now you'll just play by the numbers. Doubling up in towards the elbow. When you've got a little bit of lesser equipped players, you know, Something only down onto the Sheriff, you need to see a little bit of corners be cut, but you're not really seeing too much from PRX. An opening kill, and then everyone's just covering a base.
Setup. Just trying to mark for it as well. Off angles all being held. Swaps up over onto the top of pipes. That's Mako down. The next player as well, Forsaken, just throwing off crosshair placements with a refract. And Bane trying to stay alive. Spots up Forsaken, but the Salvos continue to bomb away at his position. Forsaken in with a quad.
Really quick utility to come out from him as well. I love that that Saturate comes out, just provides him enough time to reposition his aim to go for these multi-frags too. They didn't overcook things in that round as PRX. Pretty followable. Sending in Forsaken to find the opening kill, resetting yourselves as a team. If DRX, you know, rotate over towards the B site, you've still got players there because you haven't bit the bullet and rotated early enough as well. Really good resilience to come through from PRX here.
That's exactly what they've needed so far. Scoreline might be a little bit similar to the previous map right now, and so I would be looking very much forward to a PRX comeback. Keep it simple, Smarty Pants, and that's what they're looking to do. Still though, a 2-2-1 split in with the Viper's Pit around the A site.
Oh, but look at this, quick, wow. Up through mid, Bane on towards Something. That's immediately going to send the guys back over towards the B side as well, because a pit, generally at this A site, if you can try and get over it, and you're not detected, you can crunch on towards Mindfreak in a potential split. So the onus really is on PRX here to get some information in the next couple of moments to try and bring a little bit more stability back in towards this round.
They haven't quite been able to do so though. Instead, in fact, it is DRX getting the information in with the stealth drone out. Still though, wow, look at this setup. a bit outside the window. It turns out to be a high-low lockdown in place as well now.
Yeah, and that lockdown is going to flush Mindfreak out of his pit, so that's an ultimate for an ultimate exchange and affords you a little bit of time to get a plant. Meanwhile, Marco finds the timing on the flank as well, and Hunman found Mindfreak too.
Yeah, and off those positions now, PRX find themselves in a tougher spot. Forsaken just having to hold outside. Needs to look for Mako before he even gets close to screens. Sends in the stun though, and that's the headshot through. Off to the other end, it's just Jing trying to work alongside his brother, basically. In with the ult, but it doesn't quite find anyone. Might just give him a bit of space, but is it going to be enough? A frag through, Jing goes for the tap. Forsaken onto the other side, but no! Freeing spots him out instead! A double kill to close out the round, and DRX find yet another one on the board.
If DRX members were playing on the side itself, that convergent pass would have been great, right? Remove their ability to essentially shoot back and reposition around that A site, and then maybe you get a really good retake happening on in. But the fact that DRX just get themselves out of the site, start to play a little bit more post-planty-like, right? They kind of recognize that that ultimate is available, and generally you would either see one of two positions where that might go. Cutting off the site of elbowing towards jail or towards the site itself, and unfortunately for PRX it was the latter. And didn't really catch anyone. Into a new gun round, however, and it's again an immediate control of wanting to attempt pipes.
Yeah, we do have 0 point from Devi already clearing out B main though, so straight back in towards A. Everyone's kind of flooding back through. Guns in hand, Forsaken for the info. No shot found exactly, but still, at least he confirms that where DRX is heading towards. Back into it. That's a bit of a snake bite, but Jing holds true. Bean though, what is this? All the way towards the back of Raptors, and he finds a couple. Now down to it, Something and Mindfreak trying to reclaim space, but timing's already been lost and afforded to DRX. Viper's Pit up and online.
Timing now. It's timing for Something. How far forward can he get to try and offset this deficit?
Yeah, trying at the very least, but working up around pipes is just too much to clear. Mako slips out of the Viper's Pit and takes down his counterpart. Mindfreak goes down. And there it is, last round of the first half.
I don't know, bro. What the fuck,
good assists
bro.
from Devi in there, flash drives to permit his team to get a couple of kills, but you overlook the fact that Bane can TP across and jump over, right? He gets behind him, some trades to come out from him as well, and just look at it. I mean, a double kill to come out really sets up the team for a strong post-play when you consider that a pin is available as well. DRX a really good grasp at the moment, I feel like, with some shakeups, sure, on how to deal with this Forsaken aggression. And when he sees too many numbers, he does just dispatch out of that one too. So last round of the half right now, kind of similar story.
And I think that's one of those weaknesses that we start to see as well alongside this refract, right? It takes time for you to travel all the way back to a further back to the position. And with that, DRX then gets the flood in. So at the same time now, even with the toxic screen, even with the setups, is it gonna be enough? DRX gets to plant the spike down on site.
And both teams have the Armageddon at the moment too, so it really comes down to the value that you're gonna be able to find behind this.
And off of that now, not just a plant, some ultimates online as well. Jing might have the Armageddon.
Yeah, I think they're gonna flush him
as well. So they go in towards the back, looking for free instead, and just as right, they managed to take him down. Bane now trying to hold back. The Armageddon gets sent through. Not quite finding Bane though, but he does kind of reposition even further in. The clock continues to tick against PRX, but Forsaken makes quick work. Strays, and he gets another tap. 2 kills already, and now Hyunmin in for another. Something alongside Jing, and they've spotted every single thing out. PRX bent, but not quite broken. They will get the final round in this first half.
He's on 5 HP, and he still finds 2 kills. That is very quick trigger shots to come out from him there. Something that we would generally associate with him, right? But not on a Waylay so far. Not too much value, I gotta say, that you're getting out of it. You're not convincing value that you would say why Waylay is an argument to play instead of a Jet, for example, or a Raze, for example, on a couple of the other maps in the pool. But we're starting to see some value here and there. It's learning. It's a new agent. You gotta find strengths, you gotta find weaknesses, and this is, again, PRX shaking things up. New agents to come out for them, shifts in roles, but the fundamentals, taking space. Switching it up between speed, between patience. We're seeing a lot more patience come out from them at the moment.
Which is, kind of lovely. You might say that the start of the season is the best time to really try something new and experiment a little bit. And that is what we've known PRX to do, to be creative, to be innovative. It's lovely to see, but you just need them to keep themselves in the game, not really let the pressure get to them. That's why I really want to think that as fans, you know, if you were a true fan, you wouldn't want to call him a fraud. You just want to keep on supporting them no matter what they do. And just hope that one day they truly come back in their true form. At the same time, though, as you mentioned, fundamentals, my oh my, DRX. How clean do they look, especially with the start of this first half? It's like 6 rounds straight in a row before dropping anything.
Yeah, and then you're going a little bit backwards and forwards, and no one's really finding consecutive rounds until the two, kind of the later stage for DRX. But again, your job's kind of done for what you needed to find in your first half, right? Now you shift your mentality into playing a little bit more defensive DRX, and the difference that they have is an actual Sentinel, right? So I'm going to be keen to see what Flashback is going to do, what positions he's going to be playing around the map. I mean, more importantly, covering off mid, covering off B, and in general.
That's exactly what they've got with their toolkit. So right now, just a default toxic screen, one out from PRX as well. Continue to tap away, but not finding anything too much around mid.
Toxic screen up, can permit a safe passage across as well and just obfuscate what Hyunmin can see. So if you're talking about some protocols, these are the things that, you know, are kind of bread and butter when it comes to Icebox.
Wow. Drone up as well. Hyunmin tucks himself into the corner. Whoa! Wait, Forsaken knew where he was, but he was still able to get the headshot nonetheless. In with the timing on the recoil. Still, PRX will continue to push on through with a bit of a contact play. Something Jing just flooding back sight. They managed to get it done. The spike gets planted. Mako arrives towards screens at the right time, but needs to spot everyone out. Toxic screen comes up though. And that's where now PRX gets to hang back. Mako has got quite a bit of work cut out for him.
Absolutely. I mean, you'll take some decay going through that as well, so you really want to try and not do that if you're in a 1 versus 3. Now position being spotted, I mean, this is going to be extremely difficult for Mako.
Okay. Well, he has been known to pull off insane clutches, but I don't think it's going to happen quite in this round. PRX, they have him completely surrounded, especially with something making the long trip all the way up mid towards his back. So PRX trying to find themselves back in the game, and so far starting out pretty well.
Yeah, big strength in numbers as well when they start to find the kills around the site after Hyunmin was able to get the open up. So all of them barraging through the smokes, so the walls together and setting yourself up for a pretty nice post lane, right? You're always going to kind of follow in the narrative that if you're at a deficit in a map of Valorant, you need to find the pistol, especially if you're something like an 8-4, a 9-3, or albeit like a 10-2 and further on. So the 9-3 here, the fact that PRX are actually able to find the pistol round, and hopefully this second round for them will start to get them a little bit more confident in towards this.
Confidence, a very much needed resource. Forsaken though right now feeling a little bit of confidence as well, does spot out his opponent Bane just right up around 410. That's going to be the site for PRX. Quick plants in through, and DRX on towards the pistols, just looking for whatever they can get.
Pretty much. I wouldn't mind something getting activated in these duels as well to get closer to a Hunter's Fury. He's 2 off.
Does have the Vandal. Still though, he's playing into a very defensive position. It's going to be Jing holding the off angle instead. Forsaken with a bit of a, well, just an angle in towards Raptors. Spots out 1. Continues to push forward off of a bit of utility, and that's going to be Flashback taking him down now. Davai alongside Jing. Okay, spotted out by Mako. Don't want to lose too much here, guys. It's going to be Mind Freak now off towards the back of mid, spotting out yet another player. No real exits quite yet simply found for DRX. And just Flashback now stuck inside of mid. Yeah, we did lose another player in that process, Komodo.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, imagine a world in which everybody disconnected from the site and you're somehow able to pilfer a defuse out there. No, something's kind of looking after that one from the back of the rafters. One away from the Hunter's Fury. And the way that they've just kind of dealt respect in towards this A side as well and commanded the respect, rather. I wouldn't be surprised if he's either getting a pick or an orb or plane or something, and then they can play a Hunter's Fury in the post lane in this bonus round. And that's what this is, right? It's a bonus round. We actually got some pretty good damage as DRX in the previous round. So setting up for this round now, you're looking towards all the Vandals. An Outlaw was seen though. So for Mind Freak, you got to consider that's in play. We've got to go for full shields. Are we playing off and losing any bits of utility because of that?
Not too much for now. They're still playing on defense, of course, and now in with the ascended position, Hyunmin will be able to pick 2 off. Just like a eagle soaring through the skies now. PRX scrambling, looking for some sort of safety, but I don't know if it's going to be found, Komodo. I mean, take a look at the minimap.
Yeah.
Freeing is all the way up towards down mid.
And you've got no quick availability to get across in towards yellow either here, right? So you kind of need to combine a dart and a good shot. You need an overextension here, essentially, from DRX to kind of give you ways back into a round for PRX.
Yeah, you said it during the halftime break. Fundamentals is what DRX does so well, and they're doing that all across the map. Mako holding down around yellow. It allows Hyunmin to push into a further position as well, and at this point, something just has to peek, go for anything. Finds a double, which is pretty good for now. 40 seconds left on the clock.
Is this where it gets scary?
Maybe. He is continuing to play it safe, though. Gave a bit of a jump peek. The paranoia sent through, and not suspecting something will get caught out by Mako.
Well navigated round from DRX. I'm a little bit surprised that there's no Al drone immediately from Forsaken or no, you know, Teo utility as well to come out from B main, because that's one of the general things that you start to see in Icebox, right? If you're not blocking out the vision of somebody on top yellow, either through drone, through smoke, through flashes, they're just going to have free reign to get the kills, and that's exactly what Hyunmin was able to do. So we might see that change up a little bit quickly for PRX if they want to contend with this B site in the next couple of rounds as well. But, you know, at least good to see for DRX's side that a round that should generally go their way, a bonus round does.
Yeah, they just continue to get to orchestrate their movements across the map this way, but with that Hunter Trigger from the previous round, here it comes. Something looking to force DRX to scramble on the A site. Meanwhile, Forsaken straight in with a light speed. Stinger at hand, he closes in the distance. 2 headshots and Mind Freak off on another.
Playing that weapon to a T. Stinger straight in, a lad on the back of that Hunter's Fury tagging him up as well, right? Recognizing that you can quickly go in towards that one and materialize an ace site control. That's really good from PRX.
Yeah, I would say that those headshots are as crisp as a Coke with max ice on a summer day. What else is crisp, Komodo?
His headshots.
Yeah, Mako's headshots as well. It's definitely something to work against. DRX, you know, those fundamentals stay true.
Yeah, that's a quick one as well to come out from PRX, right? So when you think about previous rounds being a little bit slower, you catch DRX off guard, don't have enough time to get any of the members over towards the site. You kind of need the members that are there trying to bunker down A to do something. And, I mean, addition of Waylay, right? Teams are trying to also figure out if they're going to play against him. How does this Saturate actually play? If you get spotted out, right, and Forsaken's throwing that Saturate over towards you, you're not going to be able to do too much if you don't already have an established crossfire. So just a little bit of utility difference in that mark, working a treat towards PRX and to set themselves up for this next round as well. I mean, you're starting to see, you know, attacking sided rounds, them figuring out momentum, them figuring out what layering of utility that they may need to do in a round that they can't rely on an ultimate in the beginning to open something up.
See, it works out because you've got these smokes and it just allows for Forsaken to get into a safer entry. And that's the support that we were all looking for. That said, though, you only have that many chances. Termi now in with a timeout. You know, certainly you can bet that he might be cooking up some kind of a defensive setup to work against a potential assault being launched by Forsaken. You know, you mentioned the refract. As long as you have, you know, a secondary player to mark some of these possible dive spots, shall we call them, they can always gun down Forsaken, even though the stun might get sent through.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking towards anything like a recon from your Sova, from a drone from a Teo, if you 0-point them, or even if you just spot them, right? That's going to allow a lot of ability for yourselves to just send Forsaken in and hopefully find a kill, if your team's also looking at the other positions where you would expect a crossfire to be, right? So it's never going to be a bad idea, but coming in towards a new round, right, I'm talking about these ultimates to try and open something up, which is what we saw in the last round from something. It can be a very different look when you've got a Waylay here and you're convergent pathing in. That can cut off pretty much half of this A site.
That is factual. We shall see how that might work out in the upcoming round. Salvos, both sides instantly traded off. Does buy a little bit of time for DRX to get into closer positions. Bane from the shadows onto the top of pipes.
Starting to get a little bit of your scaling utility in towards the site, and you are just going to Waylay ult right on in. As I said, cuts off half of the site.
Behind you. Well, that's Forsaken, but Bane, okay, he just leaves it to his teammates. Forsaken continuing to get further space, trusting his teammates to watch his back. Bane does go down. Divine now continuing with a push in towards backside. 2 kills to his belt, and that's now Hyunmin trying to work alongside screens. A good kill to start things off, though.
2 players really low, Something and Divine. Those are the ones on the site at the moment with Mindfreak to get a bit of a flank. That's
exactly what he's looking for. Finds the timing on the peak as well. Just gets off it, and unsuspecting Hyunmin, and that's going to be another round for PRX.
And a non-conversion as well for DRX on the back of the timeout in the previous round here too. So PRX, again, it is a round that they are able to convert, opening it up with an ultimate. I really like the idea from them as well. Convergent pass on in. Anyone that is going to be stuck in that, well, they're essentially going to be dead to rights. And then you start to shift focus on towards the right side of the site. And you've got strength in numbers there. You've got everybody with guns up. No one picking out utility where they don't need to. There's a strong game plan for how to attack that round as PRX, because they were afforded time to talk about how they wanted to do it.
That's exactly what those Coach Alex timeouts will do. Off of successful A rounds, now we're back in towards B. And with DRX playing in towards defensive positions, Forsaken gets to go all the way up front. Ooh, tagged down to 1 HP by Mako, though. Still, the spike at least goes down. Hyunmin in with the blades, looking for something, but nothing found.
Got to get in there. Got to get set up somehow to try and work these blades as well.
Oh, and look at this. All that happens at the same time. Mindfreak once again back into mid to try to set up something towards the back. Still, though, bit of a shot dart through, and in with low HP. It's going to be a couple of kills coming back in, back and forth, all around yellow. Fraying tries to work around the position, but it's not going to be enough as PRX has the entire thing completely surrounded.
Here we
just an eager
go,
to
buy
come
round.
from DRX, not able to play too much on the back of Hyunmin's blades either. Not really able to set him up. When you're playing a kind of flashless comp, right? Disregard the paranoia that's a bit of an uncommon position in a map like Icebox. You don't see Omen too much. There's not a lot of availability to you know, flash drive over or something like that towards yellow to set him up to go for a peek and really just reblade everybody over at B long. So you kind of need to set him up a different way. And in this position, it's kind of a little bit drier when you're just sending in the stealth drone to spot what you can, remove abilities. PRX have a good grasp on what they need to do to defend the site there. And now importantly, we're getting into a new fresh gun round. No salvos in the beginning of this round. Bane is pushing up on towards the belt, so there's going to be a very fast flank available actually towards this B side here.
Yeah, very quickly. Still though, PRX controlling down mid does work out for them so far. Forsaken continuing onward with that refract. Does get further information, but look at this, Bane all the way down mid, down A. He's able to take away at least 2. The Armageddon now gets sent through.
Yeah, stalling for time at the moment to afford a bit of rotations and re-clearing in towards mid if there was anybody else there. Now you got a player advantage as DRX as well.
Okay, just a bit of a stun, but nothing quite found. Jing at least disperses the positioning, and on with that. A bit of an Armageddon set through as well. Forsaken now off of the initial ult. Will be able to find another player playing all around the bottom though. It's gonna be Mako working alongside Hyunmin, but still,
this winnable map 3, hello?
Jing will do what is needed.
Really nice ultimate to come through from Jing there actually to dislodge Freeing, who was in his own salvos on the arm pad there. A little bit unfortunate, but it's what you need to see, right? If you're at a player deficit in that sort of scenario, you need to see somebody either rely on some positioning or a good decisive call. And in this moment, it's a bit of utility combinations to come on out. When you see those salvos come from that position as well, you got a little bit of a disconnected play at the tail end for the remainder of the kills for PRX there. So starting to really build some stability in towards this attacking side within one. And we've only seen one defense round, the bonus round so far, come through for DRX.
PRX are feeling themselves. It's definitely a really tough opponent to work against, and that's one thing that we've got to consider as well, is the fact that some of these DRX players haven't quite played against PRX like this before, perhaps in scrims, but not quite on the official stage. Still though, Hyunmin aggressively in towards Garage. He is stuck, flashed up as well, and it does buy a bit of attention away. PRX looking to reclaim space, and then the poison cloud comes up.
Yeah, and everybody was kind of in mid for DRX at that moment too, so where do you scurry towards? Where do you think that PRX are actually going to lean? An ult orb to be gathered over at the B side and setting yourselves up for a bit of a hit here. Null command on in, remove any abilities of DRX and try to set up for a flank that is absolutely red at the moment from Jing.
And that is exactly what PRX needs. Now a little bit more control. Still though, those pistols! Flashback! A couple of headshots through. Not quite, and it's going to be PRX still able to work off the trade. Something is the last man standing, but PRX tying up the score.
DRX almost won that.
It's quite close, doesn't it there? All of the trades starting to come in. A couple of loose shots out of those Sheriffs as well, working a treat for DRX there. But yep, at the end, PRX, as you mentioned, will tie things up 10 apiece, and they are definitely in this map on Icebox right now. They have brought the momentum in their favor, and they're transitioning into a round where you kind of feel like for DRX, they have to command something themselves with their rifles, with their ultimates. They have to try and find some early space, some early reads, and that's what they're going to try and do over to the A site nice and early.
Salvo's definitely going to aid them in that cause, but at the same time, PRX not allowing for them to set up. It's the Hunter's Fury. Still though, Forsaken was already gunned down by Hyunmin, and that allows for DRX to breathe.
Yeah, Freeing doesn't want to overplay this one either. Go for a repeat, can potentially lose his head. You've got that number open up with Forsaken losing his life. And this is where the round would start to settle a little bit. Maybe let DRX think that you're going to go for a little bit of a rotation, but Hyunmin hasn't spotted Devi leave the belt at the moment. So you do start to consider, with footsteps, with the abilities, that they are hanging around this A site for the moment.
And very much so, especially with that 0 point. All of a sudden now PRX continues with the aggression. Mindfreak, Devi, they've managed to push up through. The Viper Spit gets deployed, and as though Flashback tries, it's not going to be quite enough.
3, let's go.
And that's going to be the spike now planted. Mako just looking for the sprays. It's 3 targets ahead of him, Komodo, but you don't have vision, you don't have information.
Yeah, it's great patience from PRX when they do lose Forsaken and recognize how do they need to get back in towards this site, right? Let DRX potentially overcook it a little bit, use some utility on their own, or wait for your own signatures to come back online. And that's the latter is what PRX do. They let their 0 point come back on, they let their salvos as well, which Jing does still hold right now, and you go in together as a unit, looking for the crossfires. Very standard. Overwhelmed DRX, who get a little bit antsy when Flashback is losing his teammates. He wants to try and go something and loose spray through the pit.
But it's
Vandals
white.
are traced.
I'm thinking of switching it to like, you guys see Jing's crosshair color? Like, is that cyan?
By 1 round.
I like it because it's
we shall see if that continues to build up to even more. Hopefully it does.
The problem with white is sometimes it blends in with
a couple of solutions.
like
they
with
are
a
still
map.
sitting on a timeout, so that hasn't quite been used yet. But
or like
as
when
you
you're
mentioned
aiming
from
at
before,
a
trying to
spy,
get ahead of PRX.
it blends in.
PRX still managed to get ahead of it, thanks to, I gotta imagine, just Forsaken on the waylay, right? He was able to dash in, to break some lines, the Hunter's Fury being pulled out as well, and that just forced DRX to kind of reset. And with that reset, PRX came back in with Devi and Mindfreak working alongside one another. Still though, as I mentioned, the timeout now gets deployed.
Yeah, from DRX as well. So you definitely want to see this one converted in the next. It didn't get to last time, right? So on the waylay point, right? You generally want to see the waylay go in, get a kill, you refract out, and you've provided enough space and info for your team to follow you in and then trade roles, right? Essentially, you get your initiators or your sentinels or your controller to go on in. That's a general idea here. But the fact that that's not what happens in this round, you stop, you pause for a moment, you rethink, and then you re-clear in towards the site. It's another option that waylay isn't just this dive in and get out, job's done for your team, right? There's more to the story that PRX can tell us right now with this agent composition.
Well, they picked it for a very good reason. So we shall see how it does continue to play out across the map. Pick up this win, and it's going to be map point. DRX, though, sitting on quite the number of ultimates.
Yeah, well, same can be said for Forsaken here, right? We saw good success when the Convergent Pass was used over at the A site last time. If you're going in with the same sort of methodology, will it work here to get yourselves on map point?
Still at least starting things off a little bit slow. Look at Mindfreak all the way towards the back of spawn as well, in case anyone pushes out of mid. DRX hasn't done that quite yet, especially off the timeout. PRX trying to be cautious. You gotta love it.
Yeah, but for DRX as well, right? A little bit lesser equipped on the weaponry to afford themselves a good buy in the next round if this one goes haywire, because that would be map point then. So you're just playing a little bit of default heavy. What information do you see from PRX before you start to make a move? And at the moment, it might be a money move, Quack.
Money move it is. Just straight in with the ultimate. Well, no.
I love that. Refract just popped over on pipes, and he's sending in a snake spite so that if he goes for a challenge, takes any damage and refracts back, there's a time that he has where he's stuck in that refract and he might die towards that molly. So that's a really good counter, quickly recognized for DRX.
Still though, at the very least, PRX has managed to kind of avoid that for now. Looking for that mid-round play down, well, mid lane. They do spot a player out, though, and Forsaken looking for the opportunity to possibly set the ultimate, but not quite
Oh,
yet,
no
DRX
way!
have all of these positions locked down, especially up by Upper, especially up by Kitchen now. Forsaken looking to push on through. Time is of the essence, but at the same time, DRX, they might not have best guns, but they're still holding a lot of these positions. PRX, Forsaken, trying to break on through. There's the ult, finally gets popped. 10 seconds remaining though. Where is the spike? Forsaken now gets into safety. Finally getting the bomb now down, delivered through. Bane though,
I know he's stuck.
Quick and through, and he's found Mind Freak. Mako trying to work along the position, plays around the safe angle, strays back and forth, but Forsaken, he actually finds it. Down to just Bane. But where could he be?
No!
A little bit wider than before! And Forsaken finds the headshot, a quad kill in the round, as well as a clutch brought to you by the bull with the horns.
Red Bull clutch to come out from Forsaken. I mean, what? He got 2 kills earlier on in the map with 5 HP. This time it's 6, but it's the clutch to come from him at the end there. I was thinking to myself in this scenario, it's a 2 versus 2, right? You can't really get a good crossfire at the moment there for DRX when you're going for that one. And then, I mean, you make it a more winnable scenario when you get it into a 1 versus 2. And Forsaken just rips your heads off. That is absolutely pivotal for PRX here.
7 rounds in a row, now sitting at map point. Still though, that was an eco round from DRX. Now they're trying back another cheeky position up on top of yellow. Hyunmin has done it before, but now spotted out. Safer play coming out from PRX.
All that utility just dumped on towards him, and he hasn't been able to get out of yellow, but somehow he's able to find it whilst hindered. He needs assistance from his teammate.
No.
He's just going to do it all himself. Traded eventually in a 3 versus 3.
He pulled out the blades, but yeah, unfortunately gunned down. Still though, up around yellow. Can PRX find enough footing, enough space to get the spike down? Not quite, because they gotta imagine DRX already have rotated over.
Marco's been holding on to this spike that's hit quite a while as well. So you might look to see him use it this round if they do need.
Yeah, PRX possibly trying to bait it out, but still off the tap. Jing up around yellow does spot out one of these players. That's gonna be Bane. At the same time, given how the map is playing out, it's going to be Mind Freak slowly creeping up all the way out to...
It's freaking over.
DRX has no earthly idea. Mako, though, tries to play the position, but it's not going to be enough. Jing still up around yellow. It's going to be the kill. It's going to be the final score.
I'm going to watch my phone. I'm going to lay down.
Lots of aggression on that attacking side to come through from PRX, but I think I was way more impressed in how they're managing the aggression with the stopping power as well from them.
I got PRX
both in terms of
Forsaken
Forsaken getting active, the rest of the team getting active there as well, but being more passive. I think this is a new look to PRX at the moment where they're recognizing in the map what is working against DRX currently, who are usually the more methodical team, right? PRX are usually more sporadic at the moment, and I think that's coming out in terms of their agent changes, right? The role changes, the picks that they're coming out with right now. But in the map itself here, that attacking side, they didn't actually do too much wrong in terms of beginning, middle, and end of the rounds, with even losing opening kills.
Yeah, it was mostly the defensive half where they kind of struggled a little bit, but like you mentioned,
Sunday,
once
guys,
they swapped over onto this attacking side,